Welcome to the Enterprise Thought Leadership Podcast, where we explore the latest in enterprise trends, tech, and strategy with the top leaders shaping the future.
Hi, we welcome you to a podcast on stage with Enterprise Thought Leaders. My name is Kanika and I'm the managing editor of ITSecurityWire, which is our security technology publication. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts, reaching over 1.3 million business leaders worldwide. Today, our critical discussion for enterprises is all about the escalating AI arms race in fraud prevention and financial crime compliance, especially. This isn't just about a new technology, it's about how businesses are fighting back against increasing sophisticated threats powered by generative AI. Experian has recently released its UK Fraud and FinCrime report of 2025, which offers a look at the front line of this evolving battle, revealing a sharp rise in AI-related fraud from 23% in 2024 to 35% in early 2025. It highlights how criminals are leveraging generative AI for new tactics and, in response, how businesses are deploying AI and machine learning to enhance real-time detection, reduce false positives, and identifying emerging threats. Today, we speak with Paul Weathersby. He's a Chief Product Officer for Identity and Fraud and Compliance at Experian, about the escalating arms race in fraud prevention and financial crime compliance. Welcome to our show, Paul. It's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Great to be here. So I'm Paul Weathersby, Chief Product Officer for Identity and Fraud at Experian. In my role, I oversee identity fraud and financial crime compliance for the UK region. My background, I've been working in identity and fraud for over 20 years. Have seen the evolution of tactics from how it evolved in the very beginning, where it was really just about kind of confirming information in order to stop fraud, to the more sophisticated AI-driven attacks that we see today. So great to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, the first question I have for you is, would you like to share your thoughts on how businesses are using advanced AI to outmaneuver AI-powered fraud, and what the future of this technological arms race looks like? It's a very 20,000 feet kind of a question, so it's your subject and enlighten me.
Yeah, I think it's quite an interesting question. So when AI technology first started to become kind of more prominent, so mainly when ChatGPT came to market, I think it was a very exciting time on the vendor side of like how AI can be used in order to help prevent fraud. Of course, what we quite quickly saw was that fraudsters were also seeing this tool as a way to improve their attacks. So we've seen a couple of things. So the sophistication of the attacks has started to change. So in particular, AI has been used to infill gaps. So for example, create documents where a document was not present. The speed and velocity, like the automation that they can now get through AI has also had an impact. So there's been an increase in volume, which organizations have found it hard to deal with. So I think the technology has improved, so the ability to detect fraud has improved. Models have improved as a result of using AI, but it's kind of needed to. So the sophistication of the attacks has increased. So the defenses have needed to improve. I think one of the bigger changes which is coming now is the use of agentic AI. So agentic AI can help in particular with fraud investigation. Now, what that allows organizations to do is to increase the effectiveness of their fraud investigation process. So to make it quicker, more efficient, and get better results. What they can actually then do is change their fraud models so that there is a higher detection rate, which would normally result in higher false positives. But with the ability to process more at the investigation stage, it's actually allowing organizations to overcome some of these more complicated threats. So actually stop more fraud by investigating more, but actually using AI in order to stop it. I think we're continuing to see lots of change in the way that AI is used, both by criminals and by fraud prevention. Biometrics, behavioral biometrics, has become key to a fraud mitigation strategy in order to understand the behavior of a particular application, as an example.
Right. So, would you like to share some practical insights on into the multi-layered authentication strategy, especially in light of the emerging threats like SIM swapping and identity theft in the networks? Anything particular which comes to mind? And it would be great if you could share probably a use case of where you actually deployed that kind of a tool and
Yeah, so
saved.
I think it's again, so that as part of an evolution of how things have changed. So the authentication is changing, so that the use of just a username and password is becoming high risk. Many organizations are now including multi-factor authentication as a way to overcome that. Of course, a common method of multi-factor authentication is using some sort of token, either via an SMS message or via email. So what we're actually seeing now is the way that identities are being stolen has changed. So the first point of attack seems to be actually via gaining control of email accounts or mobile phone numbers. So swapping the service from the genuine consumer over to the fraudster in order to go on and commit kind of further attacks. So it seems like the way that the victims are emerging, it seems like the data is being profiled in the first place. So the criminals have access to vast amounts of data. They're able to profile, the people with maybe kind of mobile phone numbers that are more prone to attack, and email accounts that they can gain control of, and then systematically getting into or systematically swapping the phone service over to themselves, getting control of the email account, and then using that information to reset passwords, gain control of accounts, and start to commit further crime. So that's the level of sophistication that we're seeing. The way to combat that is really in a multi-layered and dynamic approach. So having a fixed process allows the fraudsters to understand the mitigating controls that you have. But by having many checks which are layered on top of each other, then allow you to change what the process does dynamically. So for example, if you see that a new device is being used to log onto an account for the first time, you can take further mitigating actions to make sure it really is the consumer. There are services again that allow you to see if the SIM has recently been swapped, so that the mobile phone service has been moved to a new device, which can happen automatically in the background, and then as a result of the outcome, then change the flow. So what we're seeing is a multi-layered approach has evolved to become a dynamic multi-layer approach, which is now our recommended way of doing it. So we provide multiple levels of protection and rules that adapt to the particular risk. So, for example, if it's a new device, then we go through deeper authentication to make sure it is the same person. We can do high-level checks on the phone number to be sure that the phone number has not seen any particular change, and can even go as far as understanding whether the phone is in an active call, and include that as part of the strategy. So there are many things to overcome it. I think the important thing now is having a dynamic multi-layered approach that will respond to the risks as it sees it, and not a static process which someone can learn, understand, and work around. But really, we are seeing levels of sophistication that we have not seen before.
Anything specific you'd like to talk about the SIM swapping and identity theft kind of thing? And pardon me if I'm not asking the right thing here, but do you think deepfakes are also a part of this identity theft
So
risk?
I think it all fits. So in our recent fraud and FinCrime report, we saw that SIM swapping crime was increasing tremendously. So there's been a huge increase in the amount of fraud which involves some sort of SIM swap, and it really is, like as I explained, it's the increase in multi-factor authentication system which is needed fraudsters to adapt to that. In order to gain access to accounts, you now need access to the consumer's mobile phone, and they're finding ways to get around that. I think I remember so many years ago, it's probably 2019, when multi-factor authentication started to come out on mobile phone devices. mobile network operators actually responded with some sort of alarm, like, we never intended for this device to be used as a security token, and there's some considerations that need to be taken into account because of that. And like kind of what we're seeing now is their concerns were real. They don't necessarily have the security controls that they need for it to be used as a security token. So I think the use of SMS tokens is certainly a good approach, but it's not foolproof. Nothing is really foolproof.
Yep, you're right there. But then, why is AI-driven fraud becoming an increasingly expensive challenge for UK businesses and consumers? I mean, it should be clear, but in terms of technology, how smart is it to invest in technology which is helping to create cost-effective solutions? How should enterprises move forward on that? What role does Experian have to play there?
So I think the things that organizations are having to deal with is so increased volume and increased sophistication. We're seeing AI has been used a lot to kind of add parts of the identity that they didn't have before. So, for example, if they've got the base information, they know their name, they know their date of birth, and they know their address. AI is being used to infill, so to add further details about the person, potentially generate a document. So it's becoming a lot harder to overcome those. Like, people are looking more genuine when actually they're either fully synthetic or part synthetic. I think AI is being used to also improve the quality of the preventative measures. So there's been a lot of enhancements recently in behavioral biometrics. Experian has behavioral biometric solutions which are deployed in most scenarios, which will look at kind of particular behavior. There are certain patterns that will indicate that the device is not being used in a genuine way. Like, one of the kind of more common patterns might be the device is actually kind of face down rather than being upright, and potentially a real user can't be looking at it because the screen is not pointing at the person. Is like one of the types of measures that could be used in order to indicate that improper use is actually ongoing at the moment. I think that we're still seeing that the traditional methods of stopping fraud are still relevant today. So the use of fraud models in order to reduce fraud are certainly being used, and they're being used to both stop it and improve efficiencies. We actually saw within our recent fraud and FinCrime report from 2025 that organisations are still investing here and they are seeing the returns. I think combining traditional fraud models with agentic AI does allow you to have more options. So the ability to detect more fraud, so to change the model so that they're more focused on fraud detection, with the new ability to process more in the fraud investigation phase, certainly helps organizations and allows it to overcome. Generally, like fraud always progresses. You providers solve problems that they see, and fraudsters will generally find a way around it. So what we've seen over the last 20 years or so is just natural progression in kind of solving some of these flaws, and then seeing how they are then evaded.
How are organizations strategically investing in technology and data solutions to manage fraud and financial crime risks, while all the while maintaining a seamless customer experience? Does it have any impact? And if it does, then what can they do to make sure that it's minimal, the impact on customer relations?
So I think that's an important question. So as consumers, like we're expecting more from organisations. We're expecting it to be safe. Now we're expecting it to be easy. The level of customer experience has dramatically improved over recent years, and we expect it to be safe. We expect it to be easy. So I think that's an important question. I think using a multi-layered and dynamic approach is really the way to provide that. So you provide friction where friction is needed. So, for example, like if you buy a new phone, you almost expect there to be some friction when you go to log into your bank account for the first time. But if you are at home on your home Wi-Fi and using the device you've used for the previous year, you expect it to be fast and easy. So there's almost like an expectation that at certain points there will be more friction. And I think the multi-layered dynamic approach allows you to do that. So if you see it's a new device, then you can add friction to the process. I think in some cases we've seen some of our customers want to add friction where friction wasn't necessarily needed. So, for example, in a login process, it might be possible to make that happen very, very quick. But if it happens too quick, the customer thinks you haven't checked, like there wasn't enough going on in the background. So we've actually seen purposeful delays being put into fraud processes in order to make it seem like the experience is what the customer expects. But yeah, I think it is an important consideration about how the consumer feels about it, and it's not just about making it seamless. Like sometimes it's a point of adding friction where friction is expected as well.
So you're saying that slowing down the process of customer identification gives them a little more trust. They feel that some has been taken at the back end for their security.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept. So yeah, in certain login scenarios, the checks that can happen automatically in the background can be so quick. So sort of 50 milliseconds or less, which in many cases seems like nothing happened. So if you just press the login button and you logged straight in, like it seems like nothing got checked. The reality of is it that a deep level of checks, so multi-layered checks happened all within 50 milliseconds, and the person could log straight in. But like there's actually some techniques to improve the customer experience. It makes it look like it actually takes longer to do those checks in order to make it feel safer. So the customer experience can go both ways. Like it's not always about making it fast and simple. Like sometimes it just needs to feel safe.
Yeah, and feeling safe is more important at that point in time to understand.
That's it. Yeah, it's an important thing. Like if you need to feel like if I did genuinely lose my device, and someone tried to log into my account, then the necessary controls are there. That's all about kind of brands building the trust with their own customers, and it's not just about making it simple. It's about making it feel safe as well. So in certain cases the friction and the process is wanted, and at other times that friction and process is not wanted. It really depends on what the customer is trying to do. So generally when someone is trying to buy something, they're focused on trying to buy something. They don't want too much friction getting in the way of it. If someone has a bank account, they want to feel like it's protected. So the customer experience can go both ways.
That is so true, and it's true for everybody, I think. So, what would you say are other challenges and the opportunities in achieving cost-effective AML compliance, and how does data and analytics play a crucial role for fighting financial crime effectively?
So yeah, I think AML compliance has always been a little bit of a challenge for the industry, because there are stringent regulations, important regulations which need to be adhered to, and trying to get all of those things balanced. So trying to balance the customer experience, trying to prevent money laundering, as well as being able to show that or demonstrate that the processes you have meet the regulation, but are also effective at actually stopping fraud and stopping money laundering. It's always been a difficult process to prove and to operate. I think what we're seeing is that data can be very effective as part of the overall process. So in particular, showing kind of changes to data can highlight risks which our customers potentially weren't aware of. In recent times, we've been able to show how the the criticality of the data is quite important, and risk rating the changes in data can both kind of allow our customers to focus on the things that are really important versus kind of understanding where a change has happened, and that change is kind of seen as a low risk. So I think some of our more recent strategies are actually in categorizing the risk of a data change. So just to try and explain what I mean by that is, so if a person has moved address, but the risk associated with the address was low in the first place, and the risk associated with the new address is also low, the overall risk of the position is still low. If we were looking at a business, for example, and the business had changed its core business activity from something which was low risk maybe to a money services bureau, that's the sort of thing you would want to focus on quite quickly and urgently without providing that category of risk. What you get is a lot of cases to actually work through, and it's quite inefficient, as well as not allowing you to focus on the right things at the right time. So I think using techniques of change categorization, we've been able to help our customers manage these challenges in a much more cost-effective way.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was great to have you here with us today. We had a very interesting discussion, and I'm sure our audiences are going to derive a lot of value from this. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Enterprise Thought Leadership Podcast. Please do follow us on social media and subscribe for more ideas and insights. Until next time.